Welcome to the Pittsburgh Dish. I'm your host, Doug Howman. How does being a new mom and maternal traditions factor into opening a new restaurant and influencing your menu? Olive Visco shares her story of Polska Laska, from pierogi pop-ups to a brick-and-mortar Polish diner. And as we start to gear up for summer gardening, wouldn't it be nice to have a recipe for veggie lasagna in your back pocket? Chef Roxanne Easley has us covered. All that ahead. Stay tuned. Well, thank you so much for coming over and for being on the show.
Oh, my pleasure. Yeah.
Would you introduce yourself to our listeners and what you have going on right now in the world of food?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Olive Visco, and I opened up Polska Laska in Sharpsburg about 4 months ago. And we've been busy. So
You have.
I've been busy.
If someone hasn't discovered Polska Laska, can you just describe to our listeners what the cuisine is, what you're serving up generally?
Absolutely. So in short, it's Polish food.
Mm-hmm.
But I like to think that it's a little more like Polish American food.
Yes.
That's how I was raised.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my mom is not from Poland. It's my great grandmother. So it's recipes that have come down from her. Although my grandma, my baci, she was raised in a very Polish-centric, 100% Polish family, and it kind of came down through into my mom's family and then into my family. It's my take on all those recipes that have come down, and now I'm kind of doing it with my family and also making a business out of it.
I love that you are extending these family traditions, this Polish heritage, but again, it's a new generation. Mm-hmm. And I just love your shop.
Thank you.
You call it a Polish diner. Did I see that written somewhere?
Yeah. So that's one of my favorite words to use to describe it. Because that's how I'm manifesting something. That's the vibe I'm wanting to go for.
Yeah.
There is counter service, there's sit down service. It's very casual. It's meant to be kind of a neighborhood feel, neighborhood vibe. You come in, I know you, or if I don't know you, I'll know you soon.
Yeah. And it's small enough you can kind of talk across the room.
Absolutely.
I sat at the counter. It felt like a diner in the best way. It is in Sharpsburg, as you said. What are your current hours right now?
Yeah. So they're short. It's Wednesday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 4. And then on Saturday, it's 11 a.m. to 3.
Mm-hmm. And folks should also know that this is your production. You have a few employees in the back, but if you sell out of something that day, you sell out. And you usually post that like on Instagram, say, hey, just to let you know.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a small business, and literally it is a small establishment. I do have a nice team, a strong team, and we do make as many as we can without going, overboard. But we used to sell out quite often. Mm-hmm. I would say now we've wrangled the beast, and I would say that on Saturday we sometimes sell out, but it is not always. And I post on my Instagram and my Facebook as soon as we do sell out, just to give everyone the heads up, so they don't make the trip and, feel like they wasted their time.
Right. Well, why don't we do this? Let's go into the standard menu. I know you are always changing up what you've got going on.
Totally.
But there's probably a soup on the menu. There's lots of pierogi and different stuffings, fillings. What do you say?
Yeah, fillings.
Fillings,
yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's go through it, and then we'll lead up to the platter, right?
Okay, cool.
What would be a couple soups that we would find?
We try and keep it seasonal. Mm-hmm. So during the winter time, you're thinking of like hot soups. So some things that we've done a mushroom soup. We've done a couple of kinds of mushroom soups. We've done hunter's stew, which is or bigos, which is a traditional Polish stew. And then we've also done like a cream of mushroom because I love it. And then we've also done a more brothy mushroom soup with noodles, which is a common thing you'll see in Polish food. We've also done pickle soup, which is also, that's delish. And then we, just last week, we did borscht.
Yeah, I think when I was in, did you have a white borscht?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so Zurich. And that is, it's called a white borscht, but there's no beets in it. It's a rye sour soup. So it starts with a rye starter. So you take like rye flour, water, garlic, bay leaves, that kind of thing. And you let it sit and ferment for a few days. And that's kind of like the base of the soup.
Wow.
And then from there, you can add in, it's usually white kielbasa, which is fresh kielbasa instead of smoked.
Yes.
And then, veggie and all that. And that's a really popular or rather traditional soup to serve around Easter time.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, I was in just before Easter.
Yep.
So that makes total sense.
Yeah.
I'm learning like right now in the moment. And then I'm also thinking, the whole aspect of fermentation or kind of pickly things.
Yeah.
I mean, that speaks to the region as well.
Absolutely. That's something I love to do in my free time. Now, the whole permits and the rules with Allegheny Food Department and things like that, I don't have that all I'm not out here like fermenting my own pickles and stuff like that for the restaurant, maybe one day.
Sure.
That being said, pickles, sauerkraut, all of that funky goodness.
Yes.
Definitely a huge Polish or Eastern European food. I mean, it like in so many cultures, honestly.
Right.
But yeah, no, definitely something that my mom's always done. I've always done. We really enjoy like canning and pickling and things like that.
I love that. My sister has really gotten into canning in the last couple of years. She cans everything, but I don't know if we made pickles. I don't know. I'll have to ask her.
Yeah.
So why don't we just move through the menu as if I'm having like a full meal with you? Then, of course, we have, I'm not going to say it right, goblaki.
No, that's okay. So it's guamki. That's Polish.
Yeah.
Now, Pittsburgh will say glubki.
Yes.
And then I think people from Croatia say halubki. It's like an H or something. Either way, I know exactly what everyone means when they start saying it.
Yeah. And this is the stuffed cabbage roll.
Yep.
It's delicious. That is what I had. And then, of course, you have some halushki. And are you making the
spatzel?
Yeah.
We do make that homemade. I wasn't sure, I knew I was going to have halushki on my menu, but I wanted to make it special and I wanted to have like a homemade twist on it. So I was like, I don't even know how I came up with the idea of spatzel. I think it just kind of just seemed like the right thing to do. And yeah, so we make that homemade. We make that at least 3 to 4 times a week in-house. It's a labor of love.
I've made spätzle. I mean, it's like a German thing for me and I love it too.
Yes.
So I kind of love that combination.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah. And it's instead of using the store-bought egg noodles, it gives it, a little bit of a fresh twist.
Yes. Yeah. Now, let's give folks a definition for something that's on the menu a lot. Carmies.
Those are caramelized onions. And I just thought it was honestly, I think it maybe is just like a restaurant industry thing. That's a very common thing to write on the Cambro.
Right.
That, I think a lot of people who work in kitchens would know exactly what that is. I do not deal with a lot of people who work in kitchens that come in to eat. That's not my demographic. Right. It is not fellow industry people. So I do explain that a lot. Yeah.
I noticed that the day I was there. That's why I'm
Yeah, exactly. So when I rewrite this menu, will I still have carmies up there instead of caramelized onions? I don't know. I'll probably switch it.
I think it's cute, but it does get you, in some ways it's sort of like a guerrilla maneuver to have to talk to people, which might be a great thing.
Honestly, I'll always find a reason to talk to people.
All right, let's just dial into some pierogi.
Yeah.
Let's go through the basic fillings, but also maybe some things that you do that you think are more your twist.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so our basic pierogi, or rather I shouldn't say basic, it's more traditional. I always have potato cheddar. I always have farmer's cheese and herb, sauerkraut and mushroom, and then potato onion. Those are just a very common, a lot of people were raised with those.
It's what people are asking for.
Yes, exactly. Now, that being said, I have a whole in the next month, I'm going to have another menu that comes out with another 4, pierogi that are also traditional, that also everyone was raised on. Because I feel like every week or, every few weeks, I learn about another kind of pierogi that was like, well, my favorite pierogi is potato and sauerkraut. I'm like, oh, girl, I guess, well, I don't have that, but maybe next time.
Well, there you go.
But yeah, so those are kind of the more traditional, family oriented. And by family oriented, I mean how my family made pierogi. But I have done everything. I've put everything in a pierogi, probably to the extent where it was like, oh, girl, that was a little too much. You went too far.
These are the radical pierogis.
Yes. So some of the popular ones that I've done that are not traditional Polish, buffalo chicken pierogi, cheeseburger pierogi, Reuben pierogi, taco pierogi, that kind of thing. Yeah. So just fun. I think of it like junk food, but I'm like, okay, what kind of ooey gooey stoner food do I want to put into a pierogi?
The perfect snack.
Yes, exactly. So that's kind of, where I get a lot of inspiration from everywhere. But some of the really weird ones that I've done that, again, I just don't know if I would do again. I think it usually comes down to seafood because I've always I want to play with seafood with pierogi, but it just doesn't quite ever really hit right for me. Right. So I've done a clams casino pierogi before. Oh,
wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Because also clams casino is such an underrated dish. I'm I kind of love it. It gives me Palm Springs vibes or something. And then what else have I done? Oh, and then I did a Caesar pierogi, which again, I thought they were delicious. And then another one that I do think hits just right and is popular is a bagels and lox pierogi.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, that's something I started doing back in high school, with my family, because we grew up with bagels and lox for special, celebrations, holidays, that kind of thing. And I was like, well, that's an easy pierogi filling. And that was kind of my first claim to fame is my family being like, you are such a good pierogi maker. I'm like, I know.
Own it.
Yes.
I do want to describe, folks can check out your socials, but the I want to say it, the pinch or the curl you do on the edge of the pierogi.
Crimping,
it's
the braiding.
beautiful.
It's
beautiful. And if folks are getting hungry right now, not only can they come to your shop and eat, but they can buy pierogi to go, frozen or in the takeaway. How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So it used to be frozen. My freezer broke. So they're all fresh right now. Okay. But yeah, absolutely. You can still get a bag, a Ziploc baggie of pierogi, half dozen or full dozen. They're fresh, they're boiled, and refrigerated. You just would take them home. You can freeze them or you can cook them yourself right away.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. What do you like best? Do you like a boiled pierogi and straight into some butter and stuff, or do you like a fried pierogi?
No, and honestly, you probably won't ever see a soft boiled pierogi on my menu unless I do kind of a dish that is surrounded by that, maybe a fruit one or a dessert one.
Yes, yeah.
I just haven't really. It's just not how my family made pierogi.
Right.
I know some people would be like, oh, blasphemy.
Or that's not how I do my Mrs. T.
Oh, of course. Right. So yeah, all of our pierogis have a crunchy sear on them.
Yes.
And if I'm making them at home, I put a good amount of oil in my pan so that they're pretty evenly crisped all around.
Yeah.
I like the crisp and then soft and yummy inside.
Like a shallow fry is how you like to do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So Olive says, pan fry your pierogi for the best experience.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, you did mention dessert, so maybe we should go there in a second, but I want to touch on the Polish platter.
Yeah.
That looks like the best thing on the menu.
Yeah, and I think that it's my claim to fame. I think it's why I am successful. Who knew?
You get pretty much a little bit of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So the whole idea started when I was doing pop-ups because I was just trying to streamline, but also make the most money as possible. I was like, okay, how can I force these people to get more food?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so we'll do this Polish platter, which this is not something I was raised, this is Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And I've done my fair share of research, and I know Bloomfield Tavern, they had a Polish platter. And I think a lot of places with Polish food, that's a thing. So anyway, so I was like, okay, well, I want to definitely do that at the restaurant. but I want it to be like polished. I want it to be cutesy.
It is very cute.
So, I got the cute like lunch trays and, it kind of also reminds me a little, I got a little inspo from also the idea of like a barbecue platter with the parchment paper and have everything lined up. And spread out on it. But yeah, so you get a little bit of everything. And I wouldn't say you get a little bit of everything. You get a lot of everything.
You could share this with somebody if you wanted to.
Absolutely. People do quite often. Yeah. The pro move is if it's two people, it's like they get a platter to share, and then they get like a gołąbki or two, and then they get like a salad or like a soup to share or an extra kielbasa because they're like, I want my own kielbasa.
Yeah, that kielbasa looks killer. And I love the cross-hatch cut because I did that on bratwurst. So when I saw it, I'm like, oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. No, it's great. I mean, more crunchy
yeah,
bits,
that's exactly
better.
It. It's more surface area, so it gets more browned. Oh, so good.
Totally.
Okay, so before we leave the menu then, we've taken people through. You did mention something about maybe a pierogi as a dessert. Have you done desserts, or is there a common dessert you have on the menu?
Yeah, so pierogi for dessert, for example, Easter just passed, so we did a lekvar pierogi, which is a prune butter pierogi, and ours has walnuts and oranges in it, and that's, that is
delicious.
That can be kind of like a twist on either savory sweet, or you can go the whole way to sweet. Some other like common dessert pierogies are with ripe seasonal berries.
Yes.
So like small blueberries or like bilberries, cherries, like strawberry, that kind of thing. And I think we'll probably get into it this summer. But it's not something I was raised on. It's something I want to explore.
Right. This is more to come.
Yes.
I've had cherry pierogi and they were delicious.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's like I said, it's something I want to, kind of expand my knowledge with. But yeah, at the restaurant itself, though, we're trying to do like a slice of the month. And this is kind of more of my manifestation of a diner, I kind of, what we've been doing this last month, we did carrot cake. And then, violets are popping up everywhere. So we're going to do like a violet cake, I think this next week or two. And then,
Lovely.
Yes. And then soon we're going to do rhubarb pie, strawberry rhubarb pie. That's going to be like the next slice of the month.
Okay. I love all of this because you are hitting a true diner note with all of these too. But those are like desserts that everybody loves.
Exactly. This is Olive Visco from Polska Laska, and you're listening to The Pittsburgh Dish.
All right, Olive, we should shift a little bit away from the menu. And I just want to ask sort of the bigger question. Where did this all get started? You alluded earlier that you did pop-ups. So when did Polska Laska begin?
Yeah. So Polska Laska, I was thinking about this question a lot today before I came here. And I think that it was, I think the idea of this whole thing was birthed out of motherhood. And I thought about my great grandma, and I think about my grandmother and my mother and me becoming a mother.
Yes.
And I think about how heritage and like food through heritage comes down through your maternal side so often. My dad's Portuguese. I don't have a drop of knowledge about Portuguese food in me. My grandfather is Sicilian, although that we did have a little bit of that growing up, not much. My roots have stemmed completely, through the mothers on my mother's side.
This has dominated the culture.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, that's kind of where I like to think of real meta, where Polska Laska, that idea, I've always wanted to be in the food industry. I didn't know where my purpose was going to be. I didn't know how I knew I wanted to be on my own. I knew I wanted to be able to make something that mattered and to be like, have my name on it.
Yeah.
And COVID was my window into that world. Out of necessity, I was without a job. I had to, pay my bills. And I knew I was good at pierogi making, and I knew Pittsburgh loved pierogi. So it started there in my apartment, making pierogi.
Mm.
Hal Klein made a nice little post one time because we were just like, we lived near each other. So, he had my pierogi before and, and that kind of gave me a nice little boost.
Yeah.
And people followed and I was able to get some regulars to the point where it was like, I was busy. I was having orders every single week.
Mm.
From there, it just grew and I went under the radar for a while and then I was doing pop-ups and then I was kind of like working through, through some people in some people's like kitchens.
Yes.
And then the kitchen that I'm at now in Sharpsburg was, mentioned to me through Instagram. Actually, like one of my followers was like, under a post was like, Polska Laska, are you looking for a store?
Oh my
because
gosh.
this Mindy's is leaving her spot. And I was like, oh, well, I don't know. I guess I am. I could make that leap. I could do it. And, I don't know if I'm ready, but let's, okay, well, that number's good. And okay, this makes sense. Let's do it.
Oh, wow.
And then very quickly, and I was like, okay, cool, let's open, let's do it. And then I became pregnant. And so again, the whole idea of like motherhood and, where it all kind of came from, I put opening the restaurant on the back burner for a while because I was pregnant and I just wanted to like focus on the normal orders that I had. And, I am doing wholesale for, some restaurants and holiday orders are huge for me.
Oh, I bet.
And I also wanted to like perfect the restaurant. But I also had a lot of like anxiety and hesitation because I was just like, well, what does this mean being a mother and being a good mother and opening a restaurant? Like, what does that look like? I didn't know. And, there was a lot of anxiety behind that.
Uh-huh.
And then I had the baby. His name's Kip.
Aww.
And I do have, I have a very wonderful, like supportive family and I have a supportive husband. Shout out Sky.
Yes. Hi, Sky.
Hi, Sky. And, but yeah, honestly, like after the baby was born, I like kind of, things became super like crystallized. Everything
good.
like really like came into focus. I was just like, oh no, I want to do this and I want to put my energy into this so I can create this like wonderful life for my son.
The broader, like sweet long-term experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I know. It's like, day to day, I think a lot of moms, well, I don't know. I think a lot of moms are working moms right now, but I would say that, I don't have as much like day-to-day time with my son as I would like to.
Of course.
But I do see the bigger picture and I know what I'm doing. And I'm like, okay, these memories, when he has them, he doesn't have them yet. When he does have the memories, I will be there.
Yes.
And I will be able to be there. And maybe I can even take him to Disneyland. You know what I mean?
you are shaping and controlling your whole world with this pursuit.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing that story because I think your anxiety and someone else out there listening in this same situation, it's such an inspiration to say, hey, work through that and find that balance and think about the long term.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And opening a business, it's hard. And
of course.
I mean, taxes are so hard. And working through like
all
the government,
legal things.
It's so hard and it is so overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I, me who I think I probably have ADHD or something, or I'm just like a spaz anyway. I mean, it was such a challenge to just like get into it and just like sit down and do it.
Right.
And that was like one of my biggest hurdles.
Well, I think what's cool in your experience is that you started as like this little cottage thing and then knew that you had to move into the commercial kitchen to do your thing. And now you've elevated even more into your own thing. So you are almost like at graduate level of all the things that need to happen when someone has a food business.
What's next?
I don't know. That's
Me neither.
I do have a question for you about that. So we'll talk about it. Because I've been watching you from afar on socials and I'm like, oh my gosh, this woman, I mean, she's been doing all these great things. She just had a baby and she's opening a restaurant. I mean, it's pretty incredible.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like Superwoman.
Yeah, you should. You should.
That being said, I mean, that it's not because like I am not a like type A person. I've dealt with depression, anxiety, drugs and alcohol. I mean, I'm an industry gal. What do you expect from me? You know, and I've been through it. I have lived a life, babe. And but if I can do it, like definitely other people can.
Right. You have a story to share with other people.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And yeah, like it's a fun one.
Well, let's take a step back then, because you also mentioned beyond these family decisions and some of the traditions you've inherited or grew up with, you did say you're an industry person. Tell us a little bit about your career in the food world before Polska Laska.
Yeah, so it all started when I was 15 years old.
Okay.
So I started working in and this is kind of fun because I can talk about my line cook too. So I started working at Bella Cucina in Franklin, Pennsylvania, where I grew up. And it was like the only like real fine dining restaurant, but also like a neighborhood restaurant. It was like an all encapsulating restaurant in my small town.
All the things.
Everyone went there.
Yes. And,
you know, I started out as a busser. And then when I was like 18, I became a bartender in high school.
Oh my.
You know, and I worked there even through a little bit through college. It was like such a, if a restaurant was like a reality TV show.
Oh, I bet.
And I was like in high school, believe me, my mind was blown. You know, I was like, oh my gosh, if my parents knew what was going on here. No, I mean, and it was great though. I mean, it was woman owned. I mean, you know, and everyone there was characters everywhere. And you know what though? Also like the service was elevated there too. And the food was good. And I think that I really had like a jump start into what the industry was.
Yeah.
I wasn't like starting at, you know, like a calm, cool, collected little cafe. Like, no, I was like with the big dogs. You know, I kind of like fell in love with it, probably because a little bit of like the drama of it all, you know, which comes with kitchens. And, but I was front of house for like ever. And, you know, I went to school, I went to Chatham, and I thought I was going to like get into more of like a 9-to-5 world. And, you know, my dream was like public relations. That was what my mom did. And I was like, maybe I'll work for a food public relations company. I don't know. You know, I didn't really know what it was, but I, you know, I ended up after I graduated working at Union Standard and I opened Union Standard with Derek Stevens. And again, it was kind of like that idea. I was back into it. I was back into like kind of like more of like the fine dining, downtown city industry life. And
we should remind listeners, Union Standard is now occupied by Ritual House. So that's the spot right downtown.
Right downtown. Yep, exactly. And Derek's now with Moonlit.
Okay.
And I loved working there. Hated it. Hated it.
Yeah.
And I became friends with the owner, with Derek, and I met so many of my friends there that are still friends now. And, you know, I was kind of like, okay, this is like, I love doing this. The money's quick. This is fun. I can go out with friends afterwards. And, you know, I was in my super early 20s and I was like, okay, this is like the vibe I'm trying to do. And again, it was like quick money and you know how it is. And so, you know, and from there I bounced just through some other places doing bar managing work at Ironborn. You know, I waitressed at Piccolo Forno and, you know, just a couple other places.
But you're building your network along the way. Then,
for sure. Yeah. And I was a girl that was out and about too. You know, I was at the industry nights.
Yes.
You know, I was like, you know, doing the shots with like the chefs and, you know, I was a party girl. And that was a great way to also network, I suppose. But yeah, you know, so it has been like such an enormous part of my life for the good and the bad. I mean, it's how I met my husband. And I should say, I mean, Bella Cucina, one of my first line cooks that I ever worked with is the line cook that works at Polska Laska right now.
Oh.
His name's Eric Krupitzer, and he's worked at a couple places. I think he's worked at Cure. He's worked at Bistro to Go over on North Side. But anyway, we both are from the same small town.
Yeah.
Yeah. We found each other again. Yeah. I know. I'd find you in any lifetime, Eric.
Well, I love that. That's a great story. Do you have any other support system, like from family, that's supporting the business now?
Yeah, absolutely. So my husband, Sky, he works at my restaurant every day that we're open. He's an enormous help and support for the business. He's made so many sacrifices to help me make my dream come true. And, what's become kind of our dream for our family. Yeah. And also, though, my parents are, I've mentioned, I do have such a supportive family. But, there are parts of the cafe, the diner itself that, my parents have had complete influence on.
Aww.
My dad designed and helped build the counter.
Oh.
And, my mom is an enormous part behind a lot of like the tchotchke.
Yeah.
That's all around.
Yeah.
She is like a thrifter. She is a designer. I mean, my dad and my mom have, these beautiful homes that he's designed, the home, and she's designed the inside. And I really trusted them and wanted their help to create, to create the big picture of what Polska Laska would look like and feel like. There are pictures in paintings inside of Polska Laska that have been in my family home growing up.
Oh,
yeah.
It feels that way. I love like the vintage dishware, and it's a vibe. If people haven't visited, they have to. I think we should jump forward too and just talk about the future. When you think about where you are right now with the business, are there any other things you want to start doing? You alluded to maybe some more wholesale in the future, but do you have any short or long-term goals or events or even just a new dish you want to put on the menu?
Oh my God, where do I start? So some like short-term goals to expand the business is catering.
Oh yeah.
And I'm gonna put out a catering menu, and then I'm also gonna start taking phone orders again, because I had to like shut off my phone.
Oh yeah.
Because I was just getting inundated and it was overwhelming. So that is like short-term goals. Long-term goals, I don't know right now, to be honest with you.
It's still
just
so new.
Opened.
That's right.
Oh my God. But everyone asks me.
How long has the diner been open?
About 4 months.
Yeah, it's fresh. Although you've been around town and we've heard the term Polska Laska since the pandemic.
5 years. Yeah. That's what I say. I say, I've had a pierogi business for 5 years, but this storefront has been open for under 4 months.
Yeah.
So absolutely. And then, on the menu, we're going to have a menu switch up here in the next month. Keep it seasonal. We're going to do like a summer menu. We're going to do specials, new pierogi fillings, more traditional Polish dishes that you're like, why is that not on the menu? Well, babe, it's coming.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So I'm always thinking about the next step,
thing,
how to make it better. Yeah. How do I make it better? Always.
Oh, I love that. Well, I'm so excited for this business. I mean, in 4 months of having this physical location, I think you've taken the world by storm, and I hope it just keeps happening. If somebody has not discovered you yet, let's let them know about your social handles and also the location address.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you can find me at Polska Laska PGH on Instagram. You can just Google me to find my Facebook, Polska Laska. And then our address is 1100 North Canal Street. That's in Sharpsburg, but Pittsburgh, PA.
That's right.
And then you can also follow me, Olive Visco. And, I'm fun too. And I also talk about Polska Laska and my baby.
I'm going to do that. I don't think I'm following you personally. So that's amazing. All right, Olive, it's been so great to talk with you. I have one more question while we're together. The name of the show is The Pittsburgh Dish. What's the best dish you've eaten this past week?
Gosh, this past week. Okay. I will say my mom made these rice bowls with fish wife Do you know Fishwife?
I don't.
Okay, so Fishwife is a premier canned fish.
Okay.
You can find it it's cool. It's woman owned.
Okay.
It's elevated tinned fish.
Yes, elevated tinned fish. It's a thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is the one that kind of I think started a little bit of that that storm.
That trend.
So she did a smoked trout veggie rice bowl.
Oh.
My mom cooks for me on Wednesdays. Thank you, Mother, because she watches my baby. So any day that I can get a home cooked meal made for me, I'm happy.
It's always going to be the best bite. And if it comes from mom, it's certainly the best bite of the week.
Absolutely.
Olive Visco, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for being on the Pittsburgh Dish.
Doug, it's been my pleasure.
I can't wait to go have some more pierogi.
Oh my God, can't wait to have you, babe.
I can't wait to visit Polska Laska again soon, and I think you should too. So we'll just leave it there as our recommendation of the week. Up next, if you're planning a big vegetable garden, or you just like a recipe repertoire of how to use up all that summer produce, Chef Roxanne Easley has got us covered. Hey everyone, we're joined today with Chef Roxanne Easley of Roxanne's Catering. Roxanne, when you were here last, we talked about that vast menu that you have online. And a couple of the dishes we didn't get to were some of the vegetarian dishes. I was taking a look the other day and I saw that you have a veggie lasagna, that you even do vegan.
Yes.
Could we share a bit of a recipe for our listeners if they wanted to make veggie lasagna?
Sure. So with our vegetarian lasagna, we use a lot of different vegetables. So we use squash, zucchini, mushrooms, bell peppers, onions, and stewed tomatoes. So we use that as the base with a red sauce. So sometimes we use a marinara sauce. A spaghetti sauce, sometimes we'll use, if we're really being fancy, we'll make a sauce.
Yeah.
But it just depends on the budget.
Yeah. But whoever, if you're doing it at home, whatever favorite jarred sauce you like, you could use. Yeah.
And pretty much what we do is you can do no-bake lasagna, or you can do a lasagna where you have to boil the noodle. And we also add spinach. So we add spinach to the ricotta.
I love that.
Yes. So you add the spinach to the ricotta with eggs and a little bit of seasoning in that part. We prepare that separate and we roast all of the vegetables and then we add it to the sauce.
Oh.
Yes. So we cook the vegetables first and we roast them, we season them, roast them, add it to the sauce. And it's just a layered effect. Now, this can be vegetarian or this can be vegan. And the way you make it vegan is just change the noodles to a vegetable noodle.
Okay.
And it can also be gluten-free if you use a gluten-free noodle.
Yeah.
Or you can use a vegan cheese. The cheese that we use to layer with is a mozzarella provolone cheese. But if you're using the vegan cheese, you can use a vegan mozzarella cheese.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Yes. So, and it's just a simple layering, sauce, noodles, veggies, cheese, and continue on. Yes.
Until you fill up your 9x13 or whatever you're doing.
Yes, absolutely. And then we put a parchment paper on top, cover it with a double foil in the oven for 350 for about 45 minutes, uncover it, and then we let the cheese melt on there and brown just a little bit just to get a nice little coating on top, about 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds easy. But I think that trick is the roasting the veggies first, because you're getting rid of the water and concentrating their flavor.
Yes.
And are you just, with all of the veggies you mentioned, are you just slicing them thin?
Yes, we slice them and we make it small enough so that when you put it in the sauce, it's easy to mix in and cut the lasagna.
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
So,
Chef Roxanne Easley's veggie lasagna, or vegan if you want it.
Or vegan. Yes.
Thanks so much, Roxanne, and thanks for being on the Pittsburgh Dish.
Thank you. Thank you.
You can follow Chef Roxanne at Roxanne's_catering on Instagram. Do you have a recipe? Share it with us. Just visit our website at www.pittsburghdish.com and look for our Share a Recipe form. If you enjoyed the show, consider buying us a coffee for this episode or supporting the show monthly. You can find links to those options at the bottom of our show description. And if you want to follow my own food adventures, you can find me on social media at Doug Cooking. That's our show for this week. Thanks again to all of our guests and contributors, and to Kevin Selecki of Carnegie Accordion Company for providing the music to our show. We'll be back again next week with another fresh episode. Stay tuned.